Our thesis with Dojo Mojo is always to figure out what works best to drive ROI for our brands internally first, and then productize it and make it available to the entire network. Because ultimately we understand that if we can help make the algorithms and the data models more impactful and effective by having more data running through it, it makes everybody's return on investment much stronger.
This is the E-commerce Braintrust, a podcast about building momentum online for established consumer brands. Join our hosts and their expert guests for high-level conversations about e-commerce strategies, trends, and innovations. Access our Braintrust and boost your brand's e-commerce potential.
Well, hello and welcome back to the E-commerce Braintrust podcast. I'm your host, Kiri Masters, and today I am joined by Alex Sung. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Alex is the CEO and co-founder of Innovation Department, which is a tech-powered startup studio that builds consumer brands. Alex believes that working with Amazon, not against them, is a sure way to help startup brands build reach, audience, and brand visibility. And I wanted to have Alex on the show because when we say a startup studio that builds consumer brands, you basically build your own consumer brands and use Amazon as one of two platforms generally to reach customers.
That is correct. So when we first started building businesses, we were more so set up like a traditional incubator. And we would invest passively in different direct-to-consumer businesses, as well as try to create our own from scratch. And what ended up happening is we were learning from the passive investments how to do a much better job building our own businesses. And this little flywheel was created within our offices here in Manhattan. And we decided in early 2018 to really just focus on the 100% wholly owned brands that we're building in-house. And we believe that Amazon is this incredible platform that we like to launch our brands on in parallel with our direct-to-consumer websites, because Amazon is now, as of 2018, over 50% of all US e-commerce traffic and volume. So we just realized that we had to figure out how to take advantage of the world's largest distribution channel in order to be successful in direct-to-consumer.
Very interesting. So what I like about that is you've got this strategy right from the beginning. When you're setting up a brand, we're going to do D2C and we're going to do Amazon right out of the gate, as opposed to a couple of popular models today is D2C only. And we don't want to play with Amazon because they're going to take too much of our margin and too much control and too much of that relationship with the customer. And then another popular model is Amazon only, which I think is risky, frankly, to put all your eggs in one basket and have no other way to speak with customers. So you've got a very specific strategy of attacking both channels at the same time.
Yeah, and I think you really hit the nail on the head in that Amazon only is incredibly risky. I think being only on one platform just puts too much risk on your business. Amazon is notorious for not being the easiest customer support system to navigate. And if somebody potentially complains about your listing or something happens that causes your listing to be taken down, you could be out of business for days, if not weeks at a time. And that's just not a way that you can be successful in building an early stage business. We believe that it's important to launch in parallel for a few reasons. Number one is I think there's a lot of opportunity on Amazon that exists today that if you're not going to pursue it, somebody else will. And the clear path on how we see that is there's this amazing feature on Amazon called your review count. And you can see that there's some existing incumbents that have reviews in the thousands, and naturally they're going to be the highest ranked and they're going to be the most likely purchased, assuming the reviews are positive. And then you have your other brands that are just kind of starting out and maybe not investing the same amount of time or resources, you're just missing out on this great opportunity. Amazon is only going to become a larger proportion of total online traffic in the coming years. So every day you wait is another day that your competitor is taking that higher spot from you.
Yeah, that's a great point. So speed is really important. So I wanted to, before we get into some specifics here, because you've got some very interesting tools in your tool belt that I'd love to talk about. But before we jump into some of the strategies that you're using, I wanted to get a little bit more background on your career path and how you got into this crazy world of e-commerce.
Sure. It wasn't a very direct path. I ended up going to school at UC Berkeley out in Northern California and took a undergrad business degree there. I had this aspiration to join Wall Street in 2004 and was very fortunate to be accepted to their investment banking analyst program at Goldman Sachs. I then received an internal promotion to a group called the Principal Investment Area, which was Goldman Sachs's $22 billion private equity fund. And I rode that through 2008, 2009, some very exciting times, and ultimately ended up working at a hedge fund for a gentleman named Bill Ackman, a fund called Pershing Square, which at the time was about a $12 billion fund. So I very much cut my teeth on the investing side of the business, if you will. And I started looking at more early stage opportunities in 2012, 2013. And I had always had this really strong entrepreneurial passion, just kind of watching my own father, who had been a serial entrepreneur himself. There's just something that I really was causing me to gravitate towards starting my own business. But having had almost 10 years of investing experience under my belt, I didn't want that to go to waste. So I built innovation department to be a hybrid of both investing and building businesses. Over the last 5 years, we definitely have transitioned towards much more on the building side. And then one important distinction I like to make about what my investing experience allowed for my early stage approach, it really helped me hone in on building proprietary assets from day one. So instead of just going and rushing to build a business, I knew that the value in what I could pursue would only be augmented if I had assets that are part of a tech-enabled platform that I can utilize over and over again. And these are the tools that we've built here at Innovation Department that have really helped us accelerate our success.
So that's a nice teaser as to what we're going to talk about a little later on with some of those tools that you've developed. Nice job. Sounds like you did a pretty good job of investing in existing brands. Why did you decide to go out and create your own if you had a pretty good model of doing that? Were you just not finding enough good candidates to invest in, or you wanted more control, or you felt like you'd cracked the code on the formula to launch a brand online? What drew you to step up and make all those investments into creating your own brands?
I think it's a really good question. I think investing is an incredible way to make profits. I had done it in kind of more later stage ways for many years. It's a great business. Venture capital this year will be the highest amount ever since 2000 during the dot-coms. For us, I think it really was this kind of passion for us as entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is addictive. I think once you start tinkering and once you start building, and as many times as you make mistakes and get things wrong, and suddenly you start getting a little bit of the things you do correct, it's super addictive. And I just naturally gravitated towards wanting to do more and more of those things. I also feel like the control of how you want to build and what you want to build is very attractive. For me, having come out of the finance world, admittedly, there is a question of my larger purpose and my personal why. And I felt like investing in and backing great companies was helpful, right? It made me feel a lot better about why I was getting up day to day. But this idea of coming in and really building out a business that solves for very difficult challenges in entrepreneurship was just such a powerful reason for me to just run at every problem that I encountered on a day-to-day basis. And, ultimately what we've really aligned on internally at Innovation Department is that our personal why is that we are solving for entrepreneurship in a way that we can all be successful collaborating together in one of the hardest career tracks out there. right? I think entrepreneurs are known to have a lot of struggles and difficulties. And that's the allure of kind of gritting it out, having the resilience, and then coming out the other side to be successful. But the coming out of the side stats are really de minimis, right? You hear about these great exits and unicorns, but the vast majority of entrepreneurs ultimately fail and do not make it as far as they'd like. And I think what we've done in taking a platform approach is we've really united a lot of people with a similar entrepreneurial spirit and passion so that we can solve for entrepreneurship together.
So given that you've launched a lot of brands, both on Amazon and direct to consumer generally simultaneously, a lot of your business is about launching and getting traction quickly for these brands. And we're going to talk about Dojo, Mojo, and your other solutions here as well, I'm sure. But it sounds like you've got a really good formula for launching. And this is something that a lot of established consumer brands have trouble with. They have trouble with getting the content right. How do we get reviews? How do we get initial traction profitably as well is the ideal scenario. So given your experience in this area, what do you think that you're doing that other brands aren't?
I think this is a very important topic, particularly right now in the current paid marketing world, where if you ask most D2C founding teams, the unit economics and cost per acquisition for customers on Instagram and Facebook have really gone out of whack over the last 6 months. There's just so many dollars chasing a decelerating user base that we know in the US, Facebook, Instagram, Google AdWords, and Twitter are not seeing as many eyeball growth as in past years. And I think right now, capital efficiency is the name of the game. You've heard many different stories about high-flying unicorns that reach the public markets and now are just being slaughtered out there because they don't have a clear path to sustainable profitability. And, I think right now, when we think about how we launch, we really focus on what is our best path to creating unit economics that compound. And when I think about the word compound, what it means for us is when you start to see that your growth is accelerating with just the amount of capital and resources that you're reinvesting into your business instead of going back out to investors and requiring more capital to be raised. So for us, what we've done with Dojo Mojo, which is a partnership network, think of it as LinkedIn for brand marketers looking to partner directly with each other in digital campaigns. We have about 8,000 different brands on this network that are running digital campaigns on a daily basis together. And what they're able to do with a focus on capital efficiency is they're able to work directly with each other by perhaps cross-promoting something to each of their audiences and thus helping each other in this kind of collaborative shared economy be successful as brands. And what ends up happening is when you share your audience and when I promote to my audience on behalf of you and you do the same on behalf of me, it ends up being much more ROI positive because we're not putting up the same amount of capital and cash that we would traditionally need to do into paid channels.
Right. So and I checked out Dojo Mojo myself a few weeks ago. It's a really interesting concept, like you said, matchmaking. I can find brands in my niche or maybe that has a similar audience, and we can work together on things like promotions and swapping product packaging inserts and things like that, and help each other access a larger group of people. So that's a core part of your strategy for your own brands, as well as leveraging this tool that you built yourself to actually expand your reach to potential new customers right off the bat.
Yeah, quick background on why we even built Dojo Mojo. Being that we're in the New York ecosystem, we were aware that the media companies like the Thrillist and the Pure Wows and the Skims of the world were out there doing these really great digital campaigns where they were bartering audience with each other. And, it was very much kind of a closed knit group of media companies that were really helping each other collaborate in these types of campaigns. We as D2C businesses with very small audiences, we were trying to figure out a way that we could be a part of the strategy. And ultimately what we realized was all these media companies really didn't like putting their engineering resources into running these campaigns because they would happen very often and they're pretty boring for engineers to keep doing over and over again. So we actually built this as an internal tool and offered it to these media companies and said, hey, look, I know our audience isn't as big, but we will build the tech to make it super easy for you guys to use over and over again. Just let us be a part of the campaigns. And then that's how Dojo Mojo started. Then one day, one of these media brands actually offered us $3,000 to just use our product to run another campaign that we weren't a part of. And that's when we realized, okay, there's something special here if people are willing to pay for it. And we then realized, okay, if we're going to do this well, we need to democratize this access to this partnership marketing. So we started building a network. And again, it very much looks like LinkedIn. And you have the ability to go out and message other brand marketers through their brand profiles. You can see their target demographics. You can understand how your audiences might align and perform together. We've delivered over 200 million new leads and email subscribers since we launched Dojo Mojo in December 2016. And most recently, we've actually started building an SMS marketing tool that will further help accelerate the return on investment you can get through acquiring first-party data through these partnerships.
Wow, super interesting. Now the holiday selling season is officially here and it's time to ramp up sales. But how are you going to fund that extra marketing spend, that extra inventory, hiring extra help? One way to do that and access easy capital is through Payoneer Capital Advance. From a company I have used personally and have trusted with my international payments for the last 4 years. Payoneer's Capital Advance product is the ideal cash flow management solution for e-commerce merchants on Amazon and Walmart. What they do is extend a credit offer to you based on your store's recent sales, which you pay back gradually over time until the offer is fully settled. There's no credit checks, no collateral, and they're offering a really good rate as well. Go to paynr.co/Braintrust to learn more. Here's a question for you, which is, for a lot of brands, they would perceive this to be something on the softer side of marketing. Like, yes, we can access that many, we can get in front of those many eyeballs, but the ROI, is the ROI as direct and calculable as a PPC campaign? What do you think about that?
In our view, 100%, because we are acquiring first-party data, which means that I have the right to continue messaging and communicating and promoting to these individuals versus a PPC campaign or Instagram ad campaign is a single click. And once I've paid for that click, I need to pay for you over and over again unless I got you to convert. So there's this really, extensive period of time between, let's call it the dating phase with a customer. And you're really trying to build trust and hopefully get them to be a longtime customer and commit to you with the brand loyalty that you're hoping for. And generally what we believe is that you want to maintain a 75-25% content versus commerce mix. And what I mean by that is if I'm sending you emails or messages or communicating to you, I want 3/4 of my communications just to be about building trust and establishing ourselves as a thought leader and promoting education and things that empower our user and our reader and our audience to hopefully then convert with us by offering them another 25% of the time, some sort of promotions or exclusive offers. And I think maintaining balance is critical in today's world, particularly when consumers are just getting inundated with so much advertising that they're becoming desensitized, right? And for me, the best type of data is that first party data versus Facebook, Instagram, Google AdWords, PPC. That's all third party data. And here's another element just to tie it back to Amazon. Amazon is a third party and they're very limited on the customer data that they provide you, which is why a lot of different customers or let's call it founding brands, are very reluctant to go and put their customers through Amazon. For us, what's very exciting is because we acquire the first party data first, we don't mind that Amazon only gives us the first name, last name, phone number, and doesn't give us the email or any other direct communication channel, because we've vertically integrated our customer acquisition and engagement so that we already own the first party data. So we don't mind sending it into Amazon. Amazon ultimately, because we send those customers into Amazon, it creates a lot of velocity for us there, and then will then help our listing become more relevant and a higher search result for the different products that we're displaying, which then takes advantage of this amazing organic traffic that's all over Amazon, making our cost of acquisition much, much lower.
And so are you actually taking the next step of matching your subscriber data with actual sales data from Amazon?
Oh, 100%. We're very fortunate to have this amazing data advisor that used to lead all of the data science team over at Domino's Pizza, as well as at Groupon. And, what he's done for us has really helped us be thoughtful about how we're mapping the data that we acquire through these email campaigns and mobile messaging campaigns and through all the direct acquisition of first party data against all the customer acquisition that we're doing through Amazon.
Wow. And so is that part of the solution that Dojo Mojo offers, or is this private innovation department use only?
Our thesis with Dojo Mojo is always to figure out what works best to drive ROI for our brands internally first, and then productize it and make it available to the entire network. Because ultimately we understand that if we can help make the algorithms and the data models more impactful and effective by having more data running through it, it makes everybody's return on investment much stronger. So while we do a lot of the kind of troubleshooting and testing within our own ecosystem here at Innovation Department, our goal is always to productize it and make it available to everyone. So the answer is hopefully coming soon in the early 2020 year.
Wow, that's a huge missing piece for brands, is that visibility into who the customer is and the ability to contact them. And I think that, I'm preaching to the choir here, but Amazon has very strict rules about engaging with their customers. This is Amazon's customer at the end of the day, engaging with their shoppers off-site. But if, this is certainly a gray area where if they're already this customer's already on your mailing list, you just know that they did end up converting later on Amazon and buying one of these products, then that was really your data to begin with. So it all comes down to how responsibly you're using that customer data, I guess.
100%. And by the way, Innovation Department, through our first brand, WellPath, has actually had a really successful partnership directly with Amazon to date. And before we were able to establish that partnership, and I'll jump into what that partnership entails in a second, but before we were even able to solidify the partnership, we had to show them everything we're doing and to make sure that they were comfortable that we're doing all of the strategies and tactics internally in a terms of service compliant method. The key thing for us is because we acquire the first party data first off Amazon through our own channels, we have the right to message them about anything we want as long as they're willing to stay subscribed. And ultimately, that's where if we can match with the actual customers that are happening through Amazon, we actually learn a lot about their purchasing behavior, which then makes our relationship with those customers even stronger and helps us be smarter about how we actually target them. And if you're curious, just to share a little bit about that partnership with Amazon, there's this amazing group called the Emerging Brands Group over at Amazon. And what they saw was our ability to launch brands successfully on both Amazon and direct-to-consumer channels in a very expedited manner. And they ended up reaching out to us after we had done some press talking about how amazing Amazon is as a partner, as a potential e-commerce partner, as well as just how they're a great ecosystem to be building brands, which is pretty, is very much contrarian to the general sentiment that a lot of D2C founders have for Amazon. being that we're super positive, they reached out, they invited us to come out to Seattle. They've now made multiple trips to our offices here in New York. And after seeing how we were building these brands, they actually invited us to be one of 50 brands to be featured on this past Prime Day. Really exciting for us. It was one of our products called WellPath Pure, which is an apple cider vinegar gummy. And what we were able to do there is actually become one of the top performing product launches on all of Prime Day because we were able to support it with our own audience, with our own media, as well as our first party data.
And is that something that you specifically brought to the table with Amazon as part of your horse trading? They wanted you on their platform for this reason. And did you specifically promise to put those offers in front of your audience, or was that just a bonus?
I think it was just a bonus for them. And they understood that we have a lot of benefit to gain by promoting a lot of, the sales that we're doing on Amazon. Yeah. And I think honestly, and, I would say this openly to them, we just had such a great experience with Amazon to date that I believe that, they like that we have such a positive narrative and that we're being very public about the ability for D2C founders to be successful on Amazon. And that's truly a pretty unique perspective, right? I think most people have a lot of hesitation when it comes to Amazon. But for us, we've just really had such a great experience such that it has launched our brands in such a faster and more tangible way. We can't think of not including them as part of our playbook early on in building a brand.
Yeah, that's great to hear. It's good to hear someone really identify how Amazon can be a partner, and there's always going to be, in the significance of this relationship, there's always going to be things that you wish were different. But like you said, there's just so much volume and velocity on Amazon. It's just something that you have to figure out. And there's challenges, but if you can crack this nut, then you've got 100 million plus Prime members at your fingertips.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And look, by the way, everything everyone says about Amazon being a huge platform risk is totally valid. And I understand the importance of diversification. And, I think the important thing for us with Amazon is that we really look to them as a early catalyst and accelerant for our D2C success, because what we end up doing is once we establish the Amazon channel, we're able to, in parallel, benefit from a lot of traffic that actually flows from Amazon to our D2C site because they're trying to research and understand who this brand is and why is it that, they have beautiful lifestyle imagery and they have press from New York Times and, they're exploring and learning on their own, which is one great way to acquire new customers to your D2C site. The other components are once I start to establish myself as one of the leading products in a certain keyword or certain category, I can then go out to retail distributors and say, hey, by the way, did you see that out of all the anxiety and stress products, I'm number one, which is actually truthful. We are number one for stress and anxiety on Amazon. And when I go to a retail distributor or a buyer at one of these retail channels that we're looking to get into, that's a great point of confidence and a proof point that gives them more confidence that they should actually purchase one of our products and put us onto their shelves, right? So it really is this benevolent flywheel effect once you get the Amazon machine going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad to hear of all your successes and both with your own brands and also in the tools that you're rolling out to help other brands, which are phenomenal. And I was very impressed with Dojo Mojo when I checked it out recently. And it sounds like you've got even greater features coming down the pipe. So thank you for joining us again, Alex, and sharing your insights from your own brands and all of the solutions that you've been working on for other branded manufacturers as well.
Yeah, I'm really happy to do so. And, I'm very much supportive of Amazon growth and the many entrepreneurs and founders that are trying to figure out D2C channels, Amazon, retail, all at the same time. And, I think hopefully what I've been able to share was helpful.
Absolutely. And so where should people connect with you or Dojo Mojo to stay up to date with what you're working on?
Yeah, sure. So, feel free to connect with me on Twitter. It's Alex Song @1AlexSong1. or dojomojo.com, which is a great network that we offer free trials to anybody that wants to join. They could come in, kick the tires, start making brand partnerships immediately, and hopefully it'll show as much growth and prosperity as we've seen for our own brands.
Sounds great. Thanks.